Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I have 10 photos here, but in this first video we're only going to be looking at the first one. Then there will be a separate video for each of the other photos. I think you'll really like seeing these edits. These are such fun colors by the beach, quintessential childhood, and it's a really good chance to play around with colorful pastel edits. So let's go ahead and get started. So right off the bat, you can see that I pretty much exposed for the highlights. The highlights are mostly intact in this raw file, meaning that the brightest part of the photo I can still edit those details. On the other hand, the shadows are also intact. I can still raise them without having tons of grain. So we're gonna just reset these and go over to the presets. So I'm just gonna see butterscotch is looking nice. So is cotton candy. So is lemon drop. Let's go with butterscotch. So I have a lot of grain in here already. We might dial some of that back just because it's a little bit too much grain for my own taste. So then we're going to enable profile corrections, which will correct the distortion and any vignetting we have around the edges. So already it's looking pretty good, but what's standing out to me is that this purple is a little bit too saturated. And I'm going to warm it up a little bit, drag it to the red side, and let's see what her outfit, the blue, is doing. So it has a lot of like purpley tones in it. I'm going to slide it this way a little bit. Don't want it to be too saturated. Her skin tone is already looking nice. I don't think there's too much I want to do, but just messing around, seeing if anything looks better. For example, we could make her skin tone more yellow or more red, but definitely we want it on the yellow side. And I think it's not bright enough for my taste, so we're really going to raise those shadows and decrease the clarity. So this is where it started, and this is where we are right now. The warmth is good, but we can always play with it to see if we like something else better. That's too warm. I think we're just gonna take it back where it started. And what about the red shadows? I say red shadows because by default it's on the red hue, and I usually just leave it there to adjust the saturation of that red hue. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the toning, maybe a little bit too red. What if we added more green tint? That's pretty good. The sky. So if we want to get some sky detail back, her clothing has to be pretty dark. In this case, I think we're just going to let the sky be a little bit blown out. And what's going on with yellow? Okay, and now you'll see me fast forward, I'm just gonna clone out a bunch of stuff really quickly. Okay, so it's not totally perfect, but I think the moral of this story is if you are eating at a public table, don't leave a bunch of greasy fingerprints everywhere because you're going to drive a bunch of photographers insane. Just kidding, I probably have done the same thing, but something to consider if you happen to have a spare napkin to wipe your table off with. Anyway, this photo is looking pretty good to me. I think that's about where I would leave that. We'll pick back up with this photo in the next video, which will be linked in the description when it's posted. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the photos being edited.